this is a long duct which is called pancreatic duct. So these cells, acinar cells, produce pancreatic juice. Then you will find out the descending colon. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back to the video lecture series. I'm your biology expert Amreenamehraj, and today we're going to take up this journey of life processes ahead. Today it's our lecture number 4, and in today's lecture we are going to deal with animal nutrition. In previous lectures we have come across what nutrition is, what are the two modes of nutrition, autotrophic mode of nutrition and heterotrophic mode of nutrition. We have understood that. And then I gave you this detailed description of Holozoic mode of nutrition in amoeba. Today we have to look at nutrition in man. Now my dear students, first thing you must be observing is that I have mentioned topic for today is human digestive system. Now why I have written this as a topic, you will come and understand. My first question is that which mode of nutrition does man show? I've told you earlier that since we humans or a man eats whole food, we have to take the whole food into our body and then we digest that food and we get the nourishment from that digested food. So that mode of nutrition is called Holozoic mode of nutrition. So man shows which mode of nutrition? Man shows Holozoic mode of nutrition. Okay. Now, man is not a unicellular organism, man is a multicellular organism. And this multicellular organism has been provided with a proper system by Almighty Allah for the digestion of the food which man ingests. Okay, so that's why I have written human digestive system. That plays a very crucial role in digesting the foodstuff which a man ingests. Okay. Before going to that system, let me remind you of the steps of Holozoic mode of nutrition. So what are the steps which man follows in his nutrition are, number 1, man has to engulf the food, man has to introduce the food into the buccal cavity through this opening which is called mouth. That introduction of food into the body is called ingestion. You have understood these basics in my previous lectures, okay? So the first step which man has to show is ingestion. That means man has to introduce this food into his, digestive system. That means into his buccal cavity via this opening which is called mouth. So for ingestion, man requires, number 1, are the hands for grabbing the food, and then man requires this mouth for the introduction of food into the body. Okay. The second step which man has to perform, that is the second step of Holozoic mode of nutrition, that is called digestion. So whatever man eats, whatever man ingests, whatever man introduced into his body, that has to be digested. That means that has to be broken down into simpler soluble substances. Okay. For that thing, Almighty Allah has provided man with a proper digestive system. That will be our topic for today, to understand what that system is basically. So digestion is basically what? The process of breakdown, to be simple. The process of breakdown of complex food into simple substances. I have made you understand about these in my earlier lectures. Then once the food will be broken down into simple substances with the help of this digestive system, which we are going to understand in a bit, then those simple soluble substances are to be transported into the circulatory system of man. That means some of the substances will go to the blood and some of the substances will go into the lymphatic system. That step is called the step of absorption. That means man then has to perform absorption of the nutrients from the digestive system into the circulatory system. Once absorption will be done, then we know that those substances which are then circulating in our circulatory system, they'll be uptaken by our body cells, and then body cells will either use those substances or store those substances, what we call assimilation. Okay, So absorption will be followed by assimilation. This happens at which level? This happens at the cellular level, where nutrients are either used by the cell or they are stored by the cell for the future use. That's very simple. Now, pay attention. All the food which man ingests is not digested 100%. Okay, some of the food will remain there in the digestive system. I should say 70 to 80% of the food will remain undigested, and that undigested food is to be thrown out of the digestive system, is to be thrown out of the body, and that step is called the step of digestion. So this is the removal part, the removal of undigested food from the digestive system, and this occurs through an opening which is called anus. Okay? So these are the steps which man has to follow in order to fulfill his or her nourishment. Okay? So Holozoic mode of nutrition in man has the same steps: step of ingestion, step of digestion, step of absorption, step of assimilation, and step of egestion. Now, what is most important for we people is to understand in detail about this human digestive system, because that is the crucial system which will help the man to get the nourishment from the food whatever we eat. So we are eating chips and we are eating pizzas and whatever, the biryani, the normal food, the vegetables, the curries, whatever we eat, that is to be first of all broken down with the help of this mashallah beautiful system which Almighty Allah has designed. And that system we have to understand first of all. Once we'll understand the system, that means once we'll understand the different parts and the associated parts of this human digestive system, then I will make you understand about how basically digestion of food occurs in man. That will be our topic afterwards. So first we'll understand the system completely. We'll understand all the parts which are associated with the system, and then I'll give you the mechanism. Then I'll make you understand the process of digestion. Then I'll make you understand about how basically digestion takes place in man. So we have this topic for high classes also. We have the same topic in 11th class also. There'll be certain additional stuff over there, but those students are also, advised to watch this lecture and get the basics clear. And I'll be involving only those things over here which are required by the CBSE class 10 students. Okay, now let us start the human digestive system. So if I ask you what is there in human digestive system, what will be your answer? If anybody wants to try. Absolutely correct. So human digestive system, if anybody will ask you what is it basically, you have to say that it is made up of two parts. It has two components. Okay, I'll write down those components over here. The first component of human digestive system is our alimentary canal. Alimentary canal. Okay, this is the first part of our human digestive system. You can notice this word canal. Canal is something called a tube. So alimentary canal is basically the tube which is starting from the mouth and it ends at anus. This is the tube. This tube from mouth to anus is called the alimentary canal. Roughly, it is 9 meters long. It's a long tube. It's 9 meters long. But what are its properties? This tube has these properties. It's number one, it's a hollow tube. Okay. It's muscular in nature. It's hollow, muscular, and at various places it's coiled also. You will come and understand, and normally if you look at small intestines and large intestines, they are coiled in nature. So this tube is not a linear tube. You will find different gradations in this tube. At one place it starts from the mouth, and then you will find out the cavities, and then you will reach to the food pipe, then you will go down to the stomach which is J-shaped, and then you will look to the intestines, and then you will have small intestines and large intestines. So this tube is going to be, of different structures. It's going to be having variations at different places, but we can call it a tube because finally it's a continuous tube which starts from mouth and ends at anus. So it's a tube running from mouth to anus, roughly 9 meters long, and it's hollow in nature, muscular in nature, and coiled at different places. Now, this mouth is the place where what we do is the step of ingestion, and anus is the place which is meant for egestion. Rest, digestion takes place at the different stages of this alimentary canal, which I'll be discussing in a bit. The other part of the digestive system is the glands, which are associated with the alimentary canal. So there will be certain glands which will be there in the alimentary canal. Say for example, if I speak about gastric glands, okay? Gastric glands, they are located in your stomach. Stomach is a part of your alimentary canal. So this gland comes in this alimentary canal. If we look at intestinal glands, okay? We have intestinal glands. They are located in your small intestines. So small intestine is a part of your alimentary canal. So these two glands are there in your alimentary canal. But there are certain glands which are located at different places, but their secretion comes to the alimentary canal. What should we call those glands? Definitely we have to call them associated digestive glands, or you can call them accessory glands, because they are placed, they are located at a different place, but this secretion has to come to the alimentary canal. So they are somewhat associated with the alimentary canal. That's why we call them associated glands. Now, which are these glands? If we will quote, number one are your salivary glands. Okay, their secretion is saliva, and that saliva comes through ducts. Through ducts, those secretions come to the alimentary canal, specifically to the cavity which is called the oral cavity, which you will understand in a bit. Number second is the liver. Okay, liver, it is located in your abdominal cavity, but it is not directly a part of the alimentary canal. Its secretion has to come to the alimentary canal. So liver becomes a associated gland. So liver produces a juice which is called bile juice. Okay, that juice has to come to the alimentary canal. In that manner, liver becomes a associated digestive gland. And the third, last but not the least, is the pancreas. Pancreas also produces a juice which is called pancreatic juice. What is that called? Pancreatic juice. That juice also has to come to the, alimentary canal. All these juices travel through the ducts, and those ducts open in your alimentary canal. So that's why you call these glands associated glands. Now, there is a question which must be revolving in your mind, is that what are these glands? That's a very important question, and you could be asked this thing in different examinations. It's a very important question. So before we go to this alimentary canal and then I make you understand about these digestive glands, let me first of all give you an idea about what these glands are. That's very interesting. Okay. Now, my dear students, let us pay attention. So, I'll rub this portion. I'll rub this off. So, what is a gland to start with? Let us understand gland first, and then I'll take you to alimentary canal. Okay? So, what are glands? Remember that any cell or any tissue, or for that matter any organ, which is capable of producing some sort of secretion. That's very important. Now your question could be, ma'am, what type of secretion you are talking about? Suppose you have saliva, which is produced by the salivary glands. Everybody knows about saliva, which is produced by salivary glands. Saliva is a kind of secretion. Or let me tell you one more example. Suppose you have these, sweat glands in your skin, or you have these oil glands in your skin. What are they basically? They are basically specialized cells. They are specialized tissues which are producing these secretions. Whatever secretion, like sweat is a kind of secretion, or your oil is a kind of secretion. So secretions could be anything. It could be any kind of oil, it could be a sweat, it could be a secretion like saliva. It could be a secretion like pancreatic juice. It could be a secretion like bile juice. So, be it saliva, be it bile juice, be it pancreatic juice, be it the sweat, okay, be it the sweat, or be it the oils which are produced by the skin glands. So these are the types of the secretions. So any cell, any tissue, any organ that has the capability of producing some sort of secretion, you call that cell, tissue or organ a gland. This is the very basic definition. Now, you have two types of glands. Pay attention. How many types of glands you have? Two types. One we call exocrine gland. What do we call? Exocrine gland. And another we call endocrine gland. This is very interesting. See, you have a gland, say for example. Suppose this is a gland, okay? It has got this duct. So this is the gland over here. It produces, say for example, it produces, sweat. Okay? It produces sweat. But for releasing this sweat out, it has this duct, and this duct opens on your skin. Any gland which has this duct to release this secretion is called an exocrine gland. Another example I'll give you. Suppose this is your salivary gland. Okay, this is which gland? Salivary gland. Again, it has a duct. A duct, you can simply call it a pipe or a channel. This duct carries the saliva to its destination. So since this gland has duct, it again comes under exocrine gland. So they are the glands which possess the ducts. Whereas if you look at endocrine glands, okay, endocrine glands do not have the ducts. The first point is they are ductless glands. Now what do they do? Suppose we have an endocrine gland over here. Suppose this is some kind of endocrine cell. It produces a secretion. Let me give you an example of an endocrine cell. Suppose this is a cell of your pancreas. Pancreas is very tricky. You will understand in a bit. It is a cell which is located in pancreas. It's called beta cell. So pancreas has different types of cells. It has alpha cells, beta cells, it has delta cells, PP cells. I've taken one type of cell. This beta cell of pancreas produces a hormone which is called insulin. Everyone knows about insulin, okay? Insulin is basically a kind of secretion which beta cell produces. Now, this insulin has to go into the blood. So, suppose this over here, it's not a duct. So, what is this basically is a kind of blood. It's a blood capillary, okay? What insulin does is basically it comes out into the space, what we call the interstitial space, and then this insulin diffuses into the blood. So does this beta cell of the pancreas have any duct for releasing its secretion into the blood? No. The secretion is directly released into the blood. That type of the cell is called endocrine gland. So, they are ductless glands and they release their secretion directly into the blood stream without help of any duct. That's very, very important. Okay. So, they are glands with ducts like your sweat glands, your oil glands, your salivary glands. But you have glands which do not have ducts. Say for example, you have pituitary gland. It also produces many hormones which they directly release into the blood. So pituitary gland becomes an endocrine gland. Let me give you some examples of endocrine glands. So you have, number one, I gave you pancreas. It is an endocrine gland, definitely, if we put beta cells into consideration. If I give you pituitary gland, it's also an endocrine gland, okay? If I give you hypothalamus, if I tell you about adrenal gland, if I tell you about testes and ovaries, there are different types of endocrine glands. Now, pay attention. You have some glands which behave in both the ways. Some glands behave both in exocrine way as well as endocrine way. How is that possible? You must be thinking like, how is that possible? Let me make you understand over here, okay? So some glands behave in both ways. So let me rub this off first of all and let me make you understand how is it possible. So I'll give you an example of this gland. So this is a gland. The name of the gland is pancreas, okay? This is pancreas. Pancreas is a very special and important gland of the body. It has different types of cells. Okay? Let me make some cells. These cells, my dear students, they are called the acinar cells. I'm giving you a very easy idea. Okay? And over here, you have, I've right now told you that pancreas has beta cells. This is the beta cell. Which cell? Beta cell. I told you about beta cell. What does it produce? Yeah, it produces insulin. So it produces insulin. Pay attention. And what happens to insulin? Insulin is released directly into what? So suppose this is, every organ has blood circulation also. So you will have blood capillaries. And this insulin will be, released directly into the bloodstream. So no duct is involved. What is this blue color basically? Is it any duct? It's basically a blood capillary. Clear to you people? So this is the manner in which pancreas is behaving in an endocrine way. Okay? This over here, pancreas is behaving in an endocrine way. That means it doesn't require any duct. It releases its secretion directly into the blood. But what about these acinar cells? Acinar cells, my dear students, they have the job of producing pancreatic juice. What do they produce? They produce pancreatic juice. And that juice is poured into this duct. So I'll make a duct right now. This is a long duct which is called pancreatic duct. What is it called? Pancreatic duct. So these cells, acinar cells, produce pancreatic juice. Okay, suppose this is pancreatic juice. This juice goes to the pancreatic duct. Okay. Now pancreatic duct will carry this juice to the small intestine. So could you now think, is it endocrine behavior? No, it's an exocrine behavior because exocrine glands have duct. So pancreas here is taking help of a duct. So this is the way in which pancreas is behaving in an exocrine manner. So pancreas behaves both. Pancreas is both exocrine as well as endocrine. That's why we call such glands. So you have a third type of gland. So you have a third type of gland which is no different, but it shows both exocrine as well as endocrine behavior. That gland is called hererocrine gland. You can call it heterocrine also, heterocrine gland, or you can call it mixocrine because it's showing both the behavior. Mixocrine gland. For example, your pancreas. Hope it's clear to you people. Okay. So, the glands which have ducts, they are called exocrine glands. The glands which do not have ducts and they release their secretion directly into the blood are called endocrine glands. The glands which behave both in endocrine manner as well as exocrine manner. The glands which are both endocrine as well as exocrine, they are called heterocrine or mixocrine glands. The best example is your pancreas. Pancreas has two types of different cells. Say for example, it has beta cells which produce insulin and release the insulin directly into the blood. In that manner, pancreas is endocrine. Pancreas has acinar cells which produce pancreatic juice, and that juice is released into the pancreatic duct, and duct carries that juice to the destination, that is small intestines. In that manner, pancreas is exocrine. So that's why we call pancreas a heterocrine gland or a mixocrine gland. Since now you know what a gland is, there should not be any confusion that we have to study about different associated digestive glands. We have to understand the salivary glands, we have to look into liver and pancreas and different glands. I have told you earlier, gastric gland which you will see in stomach and intestinal glands which you will see in small intestines. For this class you don't need to have so much of the high concept, but still I'll give you the knowledge which will help you at every stage. Okay. So let us now first of all, we will focus on the alimentary canal. Let us understand about alimentary canal. So, I'll keep this alimentary canal over there. So, glands are now clear to you people what they are. So, if anybody will ask you what are glands, your answer should be that any cell, any tissue or any organ which is capable of producing some secretion, that's called gland. And if it has a duct, it's exocrine. If it doesn't have a duct, it's endocrine. If it is behaving in both ways, it's a mixocrine or a heterocrine gland. Now, my dear students, alimentary canal, I told you earlier that it is a tube which is starting from mouth and it ends at anus. What else is there in the alimentary canal? Let's move step by step. There's a diagram which will flash right now. Pay attention. So, first component is the mouth. Now, what is mouth? Let us cut it over here. Mouth is nothing. It's basically this opening. This opening is made up of two lips. So, you have basically an opening which is guarded by two lips. This opening is your mouth. Okay. So, mouth is basically, let me write down the slit because it's like a window. Slit which is guarded by two lips. So this entry point is mouth. If you open your mouth, then you are able to see a den inside, a cavity inside. Okay, that cavity is your buccal cavity. That is very, very important. Or you can call it an oral cavity. If you observe your oral cavity, if you open your mouth wide, okay, then you observe your oral cavity, you will see that this cavity will be having a roof, a floor and the sides. So, this cavity has roof, it has the floor and it has the sides. Its roof, the roof of the buccal cavity, the top of the buccal cavity which you can touch with your tongue, that is called the palate. What is that called? That's called palate. If you will touch the front part of the palate, it will be hard. So, anterior, that means the front part of the palate is hard. So, anterior hard palate, and if you will roll your tongue and you will touch the back part of the palate, if you will touch the back part of your mouth or your buccal cavity to be specific, it will be very soft. So, the posterior is the word for the back. Posterior part is soft. So, that's why we use the word posterior soft palate. Very simple. Palate, which is the roof of the buccal cavity, it is hard in front and soft at back. That's why we call hard palate, anterior hard palate and posterior soft palate. For you to remember, you can write down anterior means the front part and posterior means the back part. Okay. Now, if you will go to floor, if you will touch the floor, what is there on the floor? Which is the important part which is there in the floor is obviously the tongue. Tongue, which is front part, is movable, but at the back it is attached to the base of your buccal cavity. Okay. And on the sides, what you have is basically you have the most important jaws, and which have teeth in them. They form the set of your teeth. They are located at the sides of your buccal cavity. So you have a jaw, complete jaw, which has sockets in which teeth are embedded, and they are also present in your buccal cavity. So you have to remember that oral cavity has these important components. Okay. So oral cavity has palate at the top, tongue at the floor, jaws and teeth on the lateral sides. Okay. Now, moving further downwards, you will see that it will be followed by a passage. That passage will be conical in shape, and that passage will be common for air as well as food. Okay, so you are taking in air from here and you are taking food from here. Finally, both air and food will reach to a place that will be common for both. But air will then go into the windpipe and food will go into the food pipe. But before going into the food pipe and windpipe, this air and food will be in a passage, in a common passage. That common passage, which is very small, it's roughly 12 centimeters long. That is called pharynx. What is that called? Pharynx. So it is a conical common passage for air and food. I'll show you on diagram which I'll draw, inshallah. And that passage will be then followed. We are discussing alimentary canal, so we have to forget about windpipe. That will be followed by the food pipe, or what we call esophagus. Clear to you people? After this food pipe, you will find this important J-shaped organ which is called the stomach. Okay? Stomach itself will be having some parts. Let us take those parts also. So stomach will be having these parts. The first part of stomach is called fundus. The second part of stomach is called body. The third part of stomach is called the cardiac. And the last part is called the pylorus. These are the 4 parts of your stomach, which we will be labeling after I finish giving you this flowchart. Okay, so these 4 are the parts of your stomach. Once stomach will be done, then you will find out small intestines. Small intestines again will be having 3 parts. Okay, so small intestines will be having how many parts? 3 parts. Number 1 part will be duodenum. Number 2nd part will be jejunum. And the 3rd part will be ileum. Okay, these are the 3 parts of your small intestines. Number 1 duodenum, number 2 jejunum, number 3 ileum. Okay. Then after ileum, you will find out the large intestines. Again having 3 parts. Okay. The first part will be cecum. Okay, second part will be colon, and the last part will be rectum. Okay, at the end of rectum, then you will find this will be followed by the anus. Okay, so you got all the parts. I told you that alimentary canal starts from mouth, ends at anus. So we'll get first of all this. I'll use the green pen. So we'll first of all encircle mouth, and then we will encircle anus. So mouth is the place for ingestion, Anus is the place for digestion. At rest of the places you will find out the process of digestion taking place. So mouth will be followed by the buccal cavity. Buccal cavity is also called oral cavity. Oral cavity for this class we can say has three parts: the roof, the floor and the lateral parts, the side parts. Roof is called palate. Front part is hard, you call it hard palate. Back part is soft, you call it soft palate, or you can specifically call it anterior hard palate, posterior soft palate. Floor has attached with it the tongue. Sides have the jaws, which have the sockets in which teeth are embedded in man. That will be followed by a cavity which is called pharynx. After pharynx, you will find a pipe which has to move in downward direction. It then penetrates the diaphragm and then it enters, or it attacks, or it continues with this organ called stomach, which has itself four different parts: the fundus, body, cardiac and pylorus. After pylorus, you will find out the small intestines, again having three parts: duodenum, jejunum and the third part ileum. After ileum, you will find out the large intestines having three parts: cecum, followed by colon, followed by rectum, and rectum will be followed by the opening called anus. I will like to add something over here. Colon again is having three parts, not three, even four. Okay, so colon, let me break this here. First of all, you will find out ascending colon. Then you will find out the transverse colon. Okay, then you will find out the transverse colon. Isn't it very interesting now? Transverse colon, and then you will find out the descending colon. Okay, and then after descending colon, you will find out the sigmoid colon. Which colon? Sigmoid colon. I hope this is getting short also, because yeah. So you have sigmoid colon. Okay, sorry. So these are the four different parts of colon. So my dear students, this was alimentary canal. You have understood about, you have remembered about the different parts. Right now you are visualizing this diagram which is there flashing on the board. Inshallah, in the next lecture I'll train you how to draw the digestive system in a very easy manner, and we will add the different digestive glands. I'll show you the different digestive glands and give you an idea about what they are going to do as far as process of digestion is concerned. We will do that in our next lecture. Till then, take care of yourselves. Fi amanillah.